Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday Evening Forex Breakdown. My name is Gail Mercer, and I am going to be your hostess today. I would like everyone to take just a moment to read over the risk disclaimer. Basically, you should never trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Now, for those of you that do not know me, again, my name is Gail Mercer. I'm the founder of TradersHelpDesk.com. I've been a Forex trader for well over 15 years now, and I'm also the author of Trading Nadex Binary Options series. There's 4 books that are available on Amazon, and they all deal with trading Nadex binary options and spreads. Previously, I have been a speaker at the Wyckoff Volume Conference, Traders World, Traders Expo, and the TradeStation user group. I do specialize in candlestick price formations, support, resistance, and volume analysis. I would like to invite you to visit TradersHelpDesk.com to learn more about me, the indicators I use, and the methodology I use to trade the binary options and touch brackets. Of course, you can always also contact me at gm@tradershelpdesk.com as well. Now, what I want to do is really start out with Forex Factory. This is where I go to, and you do need to check it like every morning just to make sure they didn't sneak something in there on you. But basically, tomorrow morning, we do have a 4:30 a.m. British pound report. At 8:30, we have 2 market reports on the US dollar. And then tomorrow night on the Aussie, we have the wage price index. That is a quarter-over-quarter report. Now, Wednesday morning, on the British pound at 4:30, we have the CPI year-over-year. We also, that night at 9:30, have the employment change and unemployment rate on the Aussie. On Thursday, notice that there is a European holiday for France and Italy. And then at 4:30, we have yet another British pound report, which is retail sales. And then at 8:30, we do have core retail sales in the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. So those are the market reports as they stand right now, okay? And again, I do check this every morning because sometimes they will sneak one in on you that they did not have maybe on Sunday. Okay, now let's go and start with the Aussie dollar. On the weekly chart, you can see that it's pretty much just moving down. Over on the daily chart, you can see that right now that moving average, this blue moving average, is actually offering resistance. That makes me believe it might try to come down and test 66.77. Over on the 360-minute chart, you do see that the stochastics is overextended, okay? And this would make me think, hey, we do need to go up just a little bit to test for resistance to, let's say, 67.94 before it actually comes down to try to test this low, okay? Now, most of you know Nadex offers the 2-hour binaries, the daily binaries, the weekly binaries, okay? And I wanted to show you because we've had some slower movement in Forex because of the potential for a trade war, which will cause a lot of volatility if it happens. And what I have done down here on the bottom is just inserted the average true range using a 5-period moving average, okay? And you can see that right now that average is about 40 pips, okay? If you just went in the middle of this line, it's about 40 pips, okay? Why does that matter to me as a binary option trader? Well, if you're moving about 40 pips, you might not want to use a lot of out-of-the-money binaries. I'm like out-of-the-money binary queen. I love out-of-the-money binaries, okay? So this is really important to me to see how much this market is moving right now on a consistent basis. And if it's just hitting at 40, I'm probably going to have to change my strategy and use an at the money And then when it starts going up above that 40 area again, that's when I resume my in the money. Do y'all understand that? The smaller that number is, the more prone I will be to use the at the money binary options. And we're kind of seeing that across the board right now. I think the only one that's moving a lot would be the British pound. And I wouldn't say it's moving a lot, but it's, when you compare it to the others, it is moving better, pip-wise anyway. So let's go and look at the euro yen. The euro yen is overextended on the stochastics over here. We may get a retracement on the weekly. I like to look down and confirm that with the daily, and you can see we just made a new low. And if this forms as a bullish bar, that will give you divergence here. Normally, that will push it back up to this ATR to test for resistance area. In addition to that, when you look down to the 360, in order for this to go up, normally what's going to happen is going to go up over here first. You do see that you have the divergence here. So I believe that it will flip this ATR at 118.76. Then it will come back to test it. And then it will probably continue up to 119.71 as it stands right now. Okay. And again, looking at the average true range for the euro, right now you're actually going above where the midpoint is, which is at 51. Okay. So this is telling me by looking at this, hey, I can start using my out of the money techniques now. Okay. Whereas if it is consistently below the midpoint, that would say, I need to change to an at the money strategy. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on that? Let's go look at the euro dollar. And the euro dollar is trying to retrace. It's probably going to try to retrace up to 1363. Okay. I think before it actually gets up there, it's going to have to test probably around 1170. Test that area, see if it supports it. Okay. When you're dealing with support and resistance, in order to go up, price needs a support area that will give it power to push up. If the market's going to come down, it needs a resistance area that will give it the power to push down. And I believe that that's what's going to happen on the euro. I do believe they're going to have to come down probably to around 1170 before they can continue up. Then when you look over to the 360, the 360 is not telling you a lot, okay? It does have an ATR right along the 1169 area. So that's the area that I would actually be targeting if I was looking to go long. And again, if you come over here and you start looking at the midpoint range on the euro dollar, it's about at 36, okay? That's a really small amount, okay, for the euro. So anytime I'm using an out of the money technique on this, I want to make sure that the euro is moving consistently above that 36 pip area to let me know, hey, I can use my out of the money binary options now, whereas if it's lower, I'm going to have to go and change the strategy to an in the money strategy. Let's go and look at the British pound yen. Again, you're seeing that it is overextended on both the stochastics and the ADX. Okay, so in my opinion, I would be waiting for signs that this market is going to retrace before I would want to enter. And then when you go down to the daily chart, again, it's same scenario, except it's on 3 oscillators now. You are overextended on the ADX, overextended on the RSI, and overextended on the stochastics. So again, this is telling me that more likely than not, we need a retracement. When I go down to the 360, you can see this is your divergence here, and you've already had the bullish bar. So I would anticipate that we would at least go up to 128.20. Okay. Now, once it gets there, if that offers the resistance, okay, then we could come back and it will probably take out this low. But again, that's into the future. We have to wait until it gets there. Then over on the British pound dollar, you can see again, we're overextended on both the stochastics and the ADX. Okay. So this is telling me, you know, I don't want to go short when this is overextended. Okay. I want to wait. If I only want to go short on the pound dollar, then what I'm going to do is let the retracement happen and then I'll analyze it and go in. When these is what I call normalizing, and that just means it comes below the oversold area. Okay. In this case, it would be above the oversold area before I would enter. But right now, there's no trade for me on this weekly chart because we are overextended. When we come down to the daily chart, we just had a bullish bar develop. So that tells me we have the potential here for divergence, almost to the point of being overextended on the RSI. Again, I want to come down to the 360 and I should be seeing upward movement. Okay. And you do still have some divergence there because this low was your lowest point on the stochastics and you are now making a higher low here even though price made a lower low. Okay, so I would expect it at least to come back to 2130 and then I can analyze that area to see whether it will continue down or continue up. You also see here that you've had divergence on the RSI as well as the ADX. You know, all of them are confirming, hey, we should get an upward push from here. Now on the USD Canadian, you can see that we have started to go up. It did find some resistance up here at this slow moving average on the weekly chart. I would like to see whether that holds or not this week. If you come down to the daily, you can see that you had a nice divergence here, okay? And I would be interested to see if this fast moving average, which is this blue line on the daily chart, does it hold, okay? If that acts as resistance, then we could potentially see that it starts to move down again. It could even take out the 3021 area, okay? Then when I go down to the 360, do you see how you've had this big move to the downside? They're testing this area now to see if they have found a resistance point. They may not find it until it comes to 3279, but if that acts as resistance, we could see new lows put in on the 360. Now, when you go to the chart on the USD daily, if you go to the midpoint of this, it's about 35. So again, if the histogram bar is below 35 pips, that means I'm going to want to use an in the money strategy. If it's above, then I'm comfortable using the out of the money strategy. And then finally on the USDJPY, you can see we have been moving down. And this just tells me it is just down, down, down. On the daily chart, you are overextended, okay? We just made a new low. So as long as this bar is bearish, okay, then there is no divergence. But if this bar turns out to be bullish, then you have divergence and more than likely we're going to see a retracement. Now, that typically will mean that it will come up either to 106.07 or 107.07. Depends on where it finds the resistance point. If you come down to the 360, there you can see the divergence, very, very clean divergence there. And again, this is indicating that more likely than not, this is going to push up to the 106.01 area. Okay, if you notice, this ATR kind of coincides with this fast moving average over here. So that's where it's going to show. Does this act as resistance, or, you know, are they going to look for a higher support level for price to move up? Now, also, if you're looking at the daily USDJPY chart, you can see just about the midpoint of all of this is about 54. And we had a really slow day today. But if this starts moving above that 55 area, 55 pips, then that's when I'm going to look at trading out of the money. Otherwise, I would have to utilize an in the money strategy. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Any questions tonight, guys? Any questions on any of the currencies? I think right now there's a lot of traders that are kind of hesitating because of the potential of a currency war. If any of you have been keeping up with the indices, down is the market today. We're having some big moves in the indices, and it's typical when the indices are moving a lot, you might see Forex not move as much. Any questions tonight, guys? Okay, if there's no questions tonight, I would like to thank you for joining me for the Forex overview. I do appreciate it. We will be back next Monday night at 7 p.m. again. And I hope y'all have a wonderful evening tonight.